and welcome to the 18th episode of Fibre of My Being, a podcast about knitting, crochet, spinning, and whatever other fibery things I feel like doing. My name is Megan, and I'm the host of this podcast. I live in Pennsylvania with my husband Paul and our 3 cats, and you can find me on Ravelry and on Instagram as Fibre of My Being. And please also check out our Fibre of My Being podcast group on Ravelry under the groups tab. I'd love to hear from you there. So, I will try and not blabber too much at the beginning here and just get straight into talking about my week and getting to some knitting. So, the knitting related stuff that happened this week was that I finally got back to the Knitters Guild and the Spinners Guild here in Centre County, where I live. So that was really fun, and those 2 guilds are putting on a festival along with like the Weavers Guild and the Embroiderers Guild. Like all the guilds in the county are basically coming together to put on a fiber festival this coming Saturday. I'm filming this on Saturday the 11th, I guess. So it's going to be on the 18th. So hopefully I will have this video uploaded before then. But I am super excited to go to this festival. I know I've seen a lot of podcasters talking about like Edinburgh Yarn Festival and things like that. And they're really excited to go to that. And that would be awesome to go to festivals like that, but that's kind of outside of my my range of possibilities to go to right now. Maybe someday. But I'm really excited to have this local festival to be able to go to. And yeah, I'm running out of spinning fibers, so I'm excited to stock up as well. And I also signed up for one of the classes that they're offering at this festival. And it's a class on fiber prep. So I'm really excited about that. And I know the lady who's doing the class, she's in the Spinners Guild. She's in the other guilds too. She's in all the guilds. But she was talking to me at the Spinners Guild a bit about my spinning wheel and helping me figure out things that I never learned about the spinning wheel. So, like the fact that I had the bobbin the wrong way around for the type of, for the Scotch tension that I was doing, that I was spinning with. So, I learned a lot from her already just about my wheel, so I'm excited to learn more about fiber prep from her. I think that'll be really great. So, yeah, it's been super fun this week going to those 2 guild meetings, and I can't wait for the festival next week, and I'm just super excited. Yeah, and I am dressed to channel spring because I desperately want spring to be here. Our crocuses started blooming, but there's a couple of inches of snow on the ground. So, wishful thinking. But I will talk about what I'm wearing anyway, because it makes me feel nice and springy. So this scarf is the Chantilly Lace Ascot. It's a pattern by Pam Powers from one of my favorite books, Dress to Impress Knitted Scarves. And it's just got these beautiful lacy patterns, and I don't know if you can tell, but the lace pattern is knit with twisted stitches. You can't really tell on this side, but if you see the reverse side, you can tell that those twisted stitches give the lace a lot more texture. And it's just kind of a keyhole scarf with a lovely squishy neck band. And I just really love it. And I don't know why I haven't worn this more. So, again, I'm trying to free the FOs and wear some of my finished knits for once. And this just made me feel nice and springy while also keeping me warm. So yeah. And then the hat that I'm wearing is the Hydrangea hat by Yumiko Alexander from another one of my favorite books, Rustic Modern Knits. So you can see it better from the side that it is a kind of flower-shaped hat. I'll take it off to show you a little better. It's got these petals on it with so much lovely all-over bobble texture. It was a pain in the butt to knit, but I really enjoy it. And it just kind of forms this drapey sort of beret hat, flowery. I kind of feel like a chef in it a little bit, kind of like chef hat shaped. And I've never knit a rolled brim before that has no ribbing or anything, and I thought I would hate it, but on this hat, I actually really like it. It just kind of provides the simplicity that the hat needs, and it still fits perfectly on my head. So this is another hat that I don't wear too often because it's a really funny shape, and I kind of feel like a big blue chef when I'm wearing it out and about. But I really, really like it, and I thought if there's any place that people will appreciate it, it's on a podcast about knitting. So there you go. That is what I'm wearing, and I feel springy and also cold. So yeah, and then I will move very shortly on to finished objects and works in progress, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about why I haven't gotten some knitting done lately. I had a lot of time to get knitting done yesterday, and I didn't do any of it because yesterday at work I got bitten by a dog and my hand swelled up pretty badly. It turned out to not be so bad as it could have been. She did clamp down on my hand and didn't let go, and that it wasn't just a little nip, so it was kind of scary. But yeah, I was wearing a glove, so I think that saved my hand from a lot worse damage. So hooray knitwear for saving the day. But I didn't do much knitting yesterday because I wanted to give my hand a bit of a rest because it was kind of swollen. This morning it's feeling a lot better. I can move everything without much trouble. But yeah, it was a bit of a scary moment. So I meant to finish up a few things last night, but I did not get to that. So yeah. Alright, so let me talk about what I have finished then. So, first off, I have a spinning FO. That FO is 4 skeins of beautiful Shetland yarn. These were spun from the 4 Shades of Shetland Rolags by I can never say the name, Fellview Fibres, a seller from the UK, which I love this Etsy shop so much. This was the same shop where I got the Aurora Borealis Rolags from, and as you will know if you watched previous episodes, I am in love with that yarn. It's just wonderful. So, and these Rolags have kindled my love of Shetland, so much so that I went and bought a whole pound of Shetland wool just to spin it up, and I can't wait to spin that, but I thought I should spin these first. So let me pick out a skein here and show it to you a little closer. Please ignore, by the way, in all of my hand spun, I have these weird, crazy, colorful little tail ends. And it's just because whenever I'm scanning this off onto my knitting knotty, I just grab whatever yarn is closest to me and snip off a couple bits to tie off with because I'm lazy. So that's why this one's got some of my hand-dyed yarn that I used for Paul's trilobite hat, whereas this one's got these crazy yellow ties. And yeah, I just basically use whatever is literally on hand at the time. But this skein, so there are 4 shades of Shetland in these 4 shades of Shetland Rolags, which is good because otherwise false advertising. And so this dark brown has plied up with the white, and then if you can see, the moret and the gray have plied together into these bands of color. And they're very similar in color, so they kind of like blend together, but I do appreciate that close up you can see the differences in colors. And there's been a little bit of like moret plying with the white and so on and so forth. In some of my other Rolags, or skeins, I mean, some of the white has plied with white, or things like that. So I did get a little variation, but mostly it is the brown plied with the white and the gray plied with the moret. So, so yeah, I wasn't quite sure how these would spin up, but I'm totally happy with this outcome. I think it looks great. So yeah, excited to see how these will knit up. And I haven't been knitting with my hand spun like I set a goal to do, but I'm really going to try. I got some good tips about knitting with hand spun at the Spinners Guild meeting, so that was nice. Let me see. Next up, I will grab this contraption over here so I can show you that I finally did my finishing work on my Swifty. Yeah, I guess I'll just hold it like this. So this is the Swifty pattern from the book Mason-Dixon Knitting Outside the Lines, and I keep forgetting to write down the authors of this book, but that's funny. So I use books to hold up my phone for a tripod, and the Mason-Dixon knitting books are on this stack of books. So I can tell you that the books are by Gardiner and Shayne. So that's pretty handy. And they did not come up with this stitch pattern. This is a kind of ball band dishcloth pattern that they really loved, and that they reprinted in their book, their first book, Mason-Dixon Knitting, and then they converted the stitch pattern into a Swiffer reusable mop cover in their second book, Mason-Dixon Knitting Outside the Lines. So I just thought that was a really great idea, and I wanted to knit one up to help save resources and all that. So I had this all knit up last week for the podcast, but I finally added on the buttons. And it's kind of weird that the buttonholes are that far down on the flaps, because now there's these big flappy bits that kind of make it easy to knock the buttons out, like what just happened while you were watching. But my Swiffer also has those little kind of ports for grabbing the reusable cloths, so I think that it'll be pretty secure if I just kind of push the knitting into those ports a little. You can see the indentations now where they're kind of grabbing at the knitting. And I think that'll help make it nice and secure. And this is just knit from Sugar N Creme, your classic dishcloth cotton. And I really love it. I'm excited to use it, but I wanted to keep it nice and pristine for the podcast. And I might be knitting more of these if I like how it mops, so that would be cool. So that is my second FO. Third FO, I'm going to take my hat off because it's a hat, you know, what I always knit. And yeah, this one doesn't need a whole lot of explanation, I don't think. Yep, I finally got around to knitting one of these. So this is the Pussy Hat pattern by Kat Cole, and I knit it in Woolies yarn from Lion Brand. And a lot of the hats that people have been knitting of these are in very bright pink colors. Mine is a very pale pink. But I'm okay with that because, well, first of all, I knit it in this color because that's the only color I really had that was pink. But second of all, I'm okay with it being a pale pink color because not everyone is loud and outspoken, and that's maybe the wrong word. Not everyone is loud and able to speak up for themselves really well, and so I think that this kind of muted, soft, quiet pink deserves a place in the shades of Pussy Hat colors too, because some people are more soft-spoken, and yeah. So, whatever your political affiliations may be, I'm not trying to start a big political argument or anything. I just wanted to represent the fact that I care about women's issues, and that it's something that's important to me. Plus, these hats are just so cute, and I've been seeing them all over the Knitters Guild and the Spinners Guild, and people even have these little, like, brooch versions of them, just little tiny knit versions that they pin onto their clothes, and I just really appreciated it, and I felt like I should finally get around to knitting one, so I did. And lastly, in my FOs, let me put my hat back on first, because hat hair is a thing. That's why I just always wear hats, because then I don't have to worry about hat hair. So my last FO for this week is in the realm of yarn dyeing. So previously I had shown you this red tonal that I dyed up for my attempt at making a Newt Scamander style Gryffindor scarf, in the style of his Hufflepuff scarf from the movie Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. So I dyed up this lovely tonal red as my Gryffindor red, and this week I went and dyed up the yellow, the golden color, and it didn't turn out quite like I hoped, but, well, I'll just show you first. So on the screen it looks really nice and tonal to me, actually, but in real life there's a lot more red, like blatantly red spots on this than I was hoping for, and that kind of turned out like a surprise, because I dyed this I dyed with red food coloring, just your standard like liquid variety, and it took me like 3 bottles of red food coloring to get enough color to get this to the shade that I wanted. And it took me several rounds of overdying and overdying to get this to the right shade as well. So I wanted to get this in just one batch. So I got some Wilton's food coloring gel because I've seen lots of great results with that. And so I mixed up my golden color that I based on, I mixed up just a little bit of brown using red and green, and then added in a bunch of yellow. I just wanted the brown to kind of like dull down the yellow a little, make it more of a golden color. But I learned something valuable about food dyes and their uptake, because when I started dyeing this, these red patches started appearing, and it was from the red food dye that I used to mix brown, And when I poured the water off after I was done dyeing, the only dye that was left in the water was green. So the red took up very well onto the yarn, and the green did not. So it ended up more of an orangey yellow than what I was hoping for. But seeing it side by side with the red, I think it'll work out well. I think it will look okay. And it does have lots of nice, lovely tonal variation, more so than what's in this skein. So I think it'll turn out to look good. But yeah, that was just an interesting issue that I ran into. So I'll keep that in mind for later dyeing experiments. So yeah, I will just grab a sip of water here. And then move on to works in progress. So, this really should not still be a work in progress. It really, really shouldn't. And I was hoping to finish it last night, but then I got bit by a dog. So, yeah. So, Paul's socks are still on the needles. And, guys, this is ridiculous because that looks like a whole sock. It really is. But I just haven't finished with the cuff yet. I've barely gotten half an inch into the cuff. So I've started the ribbing, and it's just going super slowly. And so yeah, this pattern, as I've said previously, is the Vanilla Socks with Gusset and Choice of Heel by Jo Tor. It's my first time knitting toe up. And of course I'm knitting 2 at a time so that I don't run into second sock syndrome. But it also means that I am taking a really, really long time. And I think that what would most improve my sock knitting is I think I need to invest in some better needles for magic looping. Because the joins on these cheap bamboo needles tend to be what gives out, and so I think I'm knitting slowly to try to save the joints and not wear them out too quickly. And the cable's also really stiff, and so I think if I invested in a better pair of needles for magic looping, I could knit socks a lot quicker. So I might do that at some point, but for now I will just keep slogging on with these cuffs, and hopefully they'll be a finished object soon. And the yarn for this, again, is Mountain Colors Barefoot base. They're Superwash Merino nylon base in the Pinecone colorway. So Paul's really happy with how the socks fit so far because I've been able to have him try them on. And I think he would just like me to make it so that he can wear them now. So I'm hoping guilt kicks in and I will finish them this week. Next up, I was hoping this would be completely done this week, but it's not. But it's mostly done. It is my Latvian mitten by Lisbeth Upaitis. I will put that information in the description below. And this is from the book. What book is it from? It's right here. Knitted Hats and Mittens from Around the World. Or Knitting Hats and Mittens from Around the World. I've talked about it previously. So I finally finished the whole hand for this mitten, and I am just in love with the way these mittens look. The cuff here, the lovely twisted cuff, kind of wants to flip inside out right now, but I'm hoping that'll block out. But I just love the way that cuff looks. And yeah, so this is almost a half object, but not quite because no thumb no thumb yet. So I should really do that maybe today. Yeah. And then I need to start the other one so I don't get second mitten syndrome. But I will slip my hand inside this so that you can see how pretty it looks. So it fits my hand pretty perfectly. My only complaint would be I wish that this this garter ridge of stripes would fall just a little bit lower, because it's kind of like not quite at my wrist, and it kind of feels like it should be around my wrist down here instead of right up here. But that's not a super major complaint to have. So yeah, I really, really, really love this mitten. And yeah, I just want it to have its mate and its thumbs, and I want to wear them because it's still snowy outside, and oh my gosh, I need mittens. And I need mittens that make me think of spring, and these do. Latvian mittens seriously are awesome, and I want to knit more of them. Thanks to Ellie of Skander Knits for getting me hooked on Latvian mittens with all of your mitten kits and books and everything that you have, because yeah, now I may be addicted. Sadly, I have not been able to knit any Norwegian mittens yet, which would make more sense because Ellie is a Norwegian, but she really likes Latvian mittens, and I just thought they were so pretty and so colorful, and I just had to. This made me knit it. Yeah. So I knit this in Knit Picks palette in, let's see, the green is grass, the yellow is canary, the red is serrano, and the purple is majestic. And as I've said previously, these are colors that I would never think to put together in a mitten, but they just work so well. I just really like them. So yeah, I'm excited to knit the other one. And I'm excited to finish this one, get that thumb on, and get all of these ends woven in. Ugh. Yeah, I'm not gonna think about that right now. I'm gonna move on to happier things. Okay, maybe not happier things, because this isn't exactly a happy thing right now either. But I have been knitting it a bit. And this is my long languishing Print O' the Wave stole by Uni Jang, aka my caterpillar. I'm pretty sure this just looks like an inchworm or caterpillar or something. Just inching along, which is what I'm doing with this shawl. Because, as you may remember, I have run into trouble with not having enough yarn to finish the border. So I've had to keep ripping out the border and bumping down a needle size or two, and trying to get a small enough gauge that I have enough yarn, because I'm just barely running out of yarn. So I bumped down several needle sizes now. I'm now knitting the border on a 2.25, it looks like. So bumped down several needle sizes, and this is how much of the border I have knit currently. But it is looking to be a much smaller gauge, so I'm hoping that that will give me the yardage I need to be able to finish this. Because I really, really love this yarn, and I just want the whole shawl to be made out of this yarn. But if I find, as I'm weighing the yarn as I knit the border, if I find that I am going to run out, after this, I'm just going to rip out the border and knit it in some white lace weight that I have lying around. But I really don't want to do that. So, yeah, This yarn is Shirty Cat Lovely Lace in her springtime colorway, and I am just totally in love with this shawl, and I just want it to be done so badly, especially because at For the Love of Fiber in a week, Shirty Cat is going to be there again, and I would love to be able to wear my shawl made out of her yarn to the festival to show her, but there's no way it's going to happen. No way. Well, maybe not. Maybe if I just knit that and nothing else, maybe it'll happen. But, yeah, I really don't know. So, yeah, that's not exactly a happier thing right now. Something that is happier, though, is my next work in progress, which is stuck on my scroll frame. Great. And this is, yeah, there's the right side of it. This is my progress on the British Driving Cap by Anne Carroll Gilmore from the book Knitting Hats and Mittens from Around the World, the same one that the Latvian mitten pattern is from. And I am making some significant progress on the top of the hat. So this will be this part of the hat, and then I will pick up stitches for the brim. And so I'm really loving this very British looking pattern. This is knit in Simplicity by Haiku in the Seattle Sky colorway, and it's like a, it's a, oh, what is it? Merino acrylic nylon blend. And I'm almost done with the second chart repeat, with this second diamond. And then I need to knit one more chart repeat, and then I can start on the brim and such. So this has been going on for way too long because, yeah, Paul should be wearing these by now, but he's not. So I feel guilty again. So much knitting guilt. So much knitting guilt. So I think I'm going to take a quick break and then come back to talk about the rest of my whips. So part of the source of my knitting guilt is the fact that I've had quite a lot of cast-on-itis this week. I just have cast-on fever. I think it's the brief glimpses of spring that I've gotten have made me just want to cast on new things and start new exciting projects. And so my next couple of whips are some of those guilty cast-ons that are keeping me from finishing the things I currently have on the needles. So first up is a shawl. Which way does it go? This way. So yeah, I've been working on this a fair bit, as you can see. This is the Multnomah shawl, I'm hoping that's how you pronounce it, by Kate Ray. Kate Ray. I can talk. Let me get that end out of the way there. And I'm knitting this out of some of the Cascade Heritage Wave that I got for my birthday as a present. And it's just lovely. It's got so much lovely plied color in it. And that's what's making these lovely gradual color changes from the green into the dark blues. And I'm not quite sure, because of the way I've balled it up, I'm not sure what color I'll be getting to next, but it's kind of a blue and green colorway. The other skein, which looks a lot different than this one, is here, so that you can see a bit about it. And the yarn is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, so your typical sock yarn. But I didn't want to knit socks. We all know how good I am at knitting socks, which is not very much. And I want more shawls, so I wanted to knit a shawl. And I've just started the patterned portion of this shawl. I don't know if you can really see it at all. Yeah, probably not. but it's a feather and fan pattern. There we go. You can see a little bit of the waviness. So I've just recently started that, and yeah, it's not really showing up too well right now. But this pattern with the feather and fan at the bottom just really kind of reminds me of a Shetland style hop shawl. Hap shawl. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Pronunciation, not my thing. So I just really liked it, and I just had to cast it on. So this is a gilt cast on. But look at that color change. Look at the fade. This is like find your fake fade. This is just, yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of a guilty cast on. And then, yeah, guys, it didn't stop there, because I also cast on another thing. And, yeah. This one has been sitting on my shelf tempting me for like months now, so I suppose I don't feel quite as guilty. But yeah, I cast on my Ice Queen Cal Wimple thing. It's a pattern by Romy Hill. It's available through Knitty. It's a free pattern, so pretty wonderful. This is also actually a feather and fan pattern. So it's interesting because I've never knit feather and fan before, and now I'm knitting two things at once with feather and fan. But I've just barely started this. It's knit with a your typical kid silk yarn. This is a loft from Knit Picks, so I think it's probably like 75% mohair, 25% silk, but I could be wrong. Mostly mohair, a little bit of silk, silvery colorway. And I've just started the lace, but because of the mohair, you just really can't see much of it. You can see some of the little feather and fan holes right there. But I've just started it, and yeah, I'm really, really excited about this. And I have I'm keeping them in a tin right now. I have my beads for this project. Some of them are loose because I had to see if my crochet hook would fit through the beads. But I just got these lovely little pearl beads. This is actually being kept in a tin that held a gift card from Michael's, but I just thought it was really appropriate because it's got like this slanted holder, and it just holds the beads really nicely. And I already used up the gift card, of course, so yeah, I just thought it would make a good bead holder, which is why I have a Christmassy bead holder. So yeah, not much progress on this, but really, this shouldn't even exist yet because I should be working on works in progress and not casting on new things. So, more knitting guilt. Also related to knitting guilt is the fact that I'm just going to briefly show this because I barely made progress. I knit like 2 rounds on my Azkaban scarf. So, just 2 rounds. So technically there has been progress made, but really no. Yeah, I really need to work on that because I need to have something to enter for the March thread of the Harry Potter Cal. Next, this took away from me knitting my works in progress, but I am very proud of myself for having finally done this. I finally managed to pre-wash, like I finally stay stitched the edges of my fabrics and pre-washed them all at once because they all had the same care instructions. So yeah, this cotton, that I just love that print, and this fleece, and this flannel are all for me to try and attempt making reusable cloth pads. So yeah, and then I also have some cotton muslin that I got to try and make a muslin, I guess, of one of the patterns from, let me get it here, one of the patterns from my new sewing book, Love at First Stitch by Tilly Walnes. And so I got some of this lovely fabric that says "You Had Me at Woof," and it's got little dogs inside the paisley. Got that to make the first pattern in this book, which is a scarf. And then I got this with no project in particular in mind, but just thinking maybe it could go towards a mock-up of one of the skirts, because I think a skirt would be an easy thing to start with for garment making. So yeah, I finally stay stitched and washed all of those fabrics. So they need a serious ironing now because they were just all crumpled up and awful. But yeah, I finally got around to that. So maybe within a year, these will actually be sewn. Because we all know how much I love sewing. I did make up my paper pattern for the scarf. So that's something at least. But really, not really something at all. Next up, I've got knitting all around me. It's like a knitting graveyard. So I gotta clean it up a little. Next up in my works in progress, we're almost done. We really are. I have spun up some of this fiber. This is Blue Mountains Farm fine roving, 50% fine merino, and 50% Leicester longwool. And it's this lovely seafoam greeny color with bits of yellow and darker green and everything. And I finally spun some up, and it turned out really fine. Almost lace weight probably, I would guess. And I'm really happy with how it looks. I like the little pops of yellow and those little darker bits too. And I spun this up after learning more about my spinning wheel from the Spinners Guild meeting. So pretty happy with that. Unfortunately, my ply did break while I was trying to wind it off, so I still have a little tiny bit of singles on my nose to pin that I'm not quite sure what to do with. And I still have probably half of the fiber left also. But I am making progress with it, so that's something. Last up, I don't even know if I should count this as progress yet because I haven't actually taken steps to start it, but I have prepped for it extensively. Sorry, the cats. So I have this bit of Targhee wool. It was braided, but I've unbraided it because I'm hoping to dye it. And I got the supplies I need to dye it, which includes some of the Wilton's dye from the variety pack that I got for dyeing this skein. And so I've chosen my colors that I want to dye it with. So I've got this royal blue. I don't know if you can even see the names there. Royal blue. Pink. Leaf green. And orange. And I just think those colors seem kind of like tropical to me. So maybe it's wishful thinking again, I say, as I'm staring out the window with a couple inches of snow in March. But yeah, I just think that those colors will look really good together, and I'm going to try and hand paint this in large color sections and then spin it up in a fractal style spin, because I've been seeing a lot about fractal spins and I have not ever tried it, so I thought that'd be cool. And the main tool that was keeping me from dyeing this when I did the skein of yellow was that I didn't have anything to really distribute the color evenly onto the wool without it going everywhere and wasting lots of dye. So I went and I got a basic syringe that I can use to take up the dye and then squirt it directly into the wool and hopefully not get a whole lot of dye waste. So it's all ready to go. Maybe I'll try and do it today. Just need to start this soaking in some water and vinegar and prep my dyes, and then I think I could dye this up pretty quickly. So yeah, that is all of my works in progress, finally. Now I will talk briefly about stash enhancement, which I really also would like to call supplies, because yeah, that's a long-standing sort of joke at the camp that my husband and I used to work at, that anytime we talked about supplies that were needed for a certain activity, people would shout supplies like it's a surprise party, because really supplies, especially fiber supplies, knitting and things, they're just as exciting as a surprise party, aren't they? Really? Yeah, they are. So, let me get my bearings here and figure out where I put my supplies. That's right here. Okay, so first off, I checked a book out from the library, and I loved it so much that I had to have my own copy. And it's kind of weird because it's not what people would think of as the most spectacular book, but as a lover of traditional techniques, I really, really found this book to be a treasure trove. And the book is the Ondori crochet lace with complete diagrams, and it is just all sorts of crochet, like traditional looking crochet lace things. So we've got, let's see, a whole section on tablecloths, on centerpieces, runners, cushions, doilies, coasters, even some bedspreads. But I just was so fascinated by these patterns because they've got some very traditional crochet techniques that I've been trying to find patterns for, but that there aren't many patterns out there for. They've got these beautiful filet crochet cushions, which when I saw them, I was like, I need to make this for the Harry Potter cowl, because that's just like Gryffindor lace. Just wonderful. But they've also got, like, let me see if I can find it. Of course I won't be able to. Sorry. One of the other techniques, well, I've really wanted to try some filet crochet. It's a beautiful technique. And I also really like Bruges lace. And they actually happen to have some really beautiful Bruges lace patterns here. This one in particular, I very much want to make. And it's lace made with a, basically a tape of crochet. So you can form that tape into any sorts of shapes you want. And one of the pages is loose, so I'm just going to stick that back in. It's kind of an old book, but I absolutely love it, and I'm excited to try making some of this lace. Next up is more of the knitty sorts of stash enhancements. So I've previously shown you that I have this lovely braid of mohair, and I want to try spinning it up into a sample of boucle yarn. And I was initially thinking of trying to spin it with this targhee as the core and the binder, but now I think, because I'm dyeing that as a fractal, I wanted some other white wool that I could use without, well, I don't really have any other white wool in my stash right now, so I needed to order some. And I went on to KnitPicks and ordered just a simple pack of their Wool of the Andes roving, which I will use as the core of my boucle mohair yarn, and then I think I'll just use some sort of thread as the binder. So I'm really excited about that. This is just their Wool of the Andes roving. But while I was on KnitPicks, I saw that they had a goodbye sale for one of their yarns, and it's been a yarn that I've really had my eye on. And so, yeah, I caved, and I bought it. And, yeah, I got some Felici. 2 balls of Felici in their Jamboree colorway. Which honestly I think looks like sorts of socks that Dolores Umbridge from Harry Potter might wear, because it's just all sorts of shades of pink. So maybe I'll make these into some Dolores Umbridge socks for the Harry Potter cowl. But that's assuming that I actually can get a sock done in a year, because we all know how bad I am with socks. And I don't know, I think I've just been working with lots of like very woolly wools lately, like the palette that's just wool, nice and crunchy for color work. I guess I've just been working with lots of woolly wools, because when I got this out of the package, it just felt like as soft as butter. It's just merino nylon, but it just feels so unbelievably soft. So it kind of surprised me a little. I was taken aback, but, you know, softness, not something to complain about. Although sometimes it is. My softest socks are often the ones that irritate me the most, so we'll see how these actually go. But, yeah, I've just been dying to get some Felici, because self-striping socks just knit faster than solid socks. It's just a fact of life. Because you're just so excited to get to those next color bands. So, yeah. And then my last acquisition is related to this library book that I checked out called Spinning, Dyeing, and Weaving, Self-Sufficiency. The book is by Penny Walsh. And it's just this nice little book, but it has, like, it doesn't say a whole lot about spinning and dyeing that I didn't already know. Although I don't know, I haven't looked through that part as much. But I did get to the weaving section, and it starts out with how to weave on just a simple frame. And I just thought that was really cool. So I just got myself a simple picture frame that I'm going to use to try some basic weaving. It's not the sturdiest picture frame, so I'm not going to do like high tension weaving, but just some basic weaving on a basic frame loom. I just think that'll be really cool to try. So that's an acquisition that I got. This is just a cheap frame from Walmart, really. But yeah, I'm excited to try some weaving. And I've got some cones of weaving yarn upstairs that I was given in the huge stash of yarns and wools and things that our friend Ellen brought for me when she came to visit. So I think Well, that could be really great. I have some weaving yarns already, and I can just try and weave some things. So yeah. That is the last of my supplies. So, yeah, I think that's about it, and I could just blabber on and on if I don't stop now. So I will just wish you happy knitting this week, and see you again soon. Bye.